Hello, my friend. Sorry about that. Sometimes technology is our friend and sometimes it's more of a challenge. Okay, so it says I need to check my virus protection. Oh, it sounds like a job for my husband. Anyway, I want to talk to you today about something that I think is really, really important. And that is being able to create closure for ourselves. You know, sometimes in life, there are situations and relationships that shift. You know, you've heard the saying, some people come into your life for a reason, a season, and or a lifetime. And sometimes, hi, Kathy, how are you? It can be so hard. It can be so sad when we think there was a relationship that was going to be for a lifetime, and it ends up just being for a chapter or two. It can really create a sense of anguish or heartbreak or grief. And perhaps these people aren't going to give us the opportunity for closure. And we have to be able to create this form within ourselves. Otherwise, it can be sort of like a dark cloud that infects our psyche and our lives. So we need to be able to take personal responsibility for creating our own closure. You know, so often as human beings, and maybe all of us, tend to learn through myth or ceremony. Stories. Even if we're not conscious of this, we're very ceremonial beings. And so stories have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And sometimes if our stories, the stories in our lives, don't have a proper ending or a proper closure or proper completion, it affects our inner reality, which in turn affects how we experience lives and what we attract and our outer reality. So often we see ceremonies for significant happenings in our lives, like birthdays or graduations or funerals or even a bris. But there's other kind of closure ceremonies that we can create for ourselves that can be helpful and important for our emotional health. So all of us are going to experience some sort of loss in our lives or some sort of disillusionment if we're going to be around for very long, because it's a temporal reality. So really learning to claim closure for ourselves is such an empowering thing to be able to do. So closure comes from the Latin term claus, which means shut, and it has many different layers and variations of meaning. Closure can be like the closing down of something, like something physical, like a school or a library or a store, or it can be emotional, which can be a little more complex and confusing. Like when someone we love dies, or perhaps it's the end of a romance. There's also the kinds of relationships where we move on from friends or they move on from us. But there's opportunities for closure in situations like a friendship, a partnership, a career, a job, maybe losing a home or an animal, or maybe letting go of a dream. You know, I had a dream of a certain life in Los Angeles, and I had to let go of that dream, and it was painful. And I did do a ceremony around that really helped me clear out the hurt and heartbreak so that I could go on to the next chapter of my life. You know, Lao Tzu has a beautiful quote: sometimes new beginnings disguise themselves as painful endings. And sometimes we have to shut one book before we can open another. And again, it can be confusing. So that's why I wanted to talk about this with you today. So, you know, I've actually had people come to me that are getting married and they're like, why am I so sad? And I said, perhaps you need to create closure for yourself around being single. Perhaps it's time to really look at that and give that credence so that you can move on to your next chapter. I know that's hard for you, Kathy. You've been going through this a lot. So I'm sending you blessings for that. I know it's been very challenging. I wish I would have known about this closure healing process for myself years ago when I was going through my challenging breakups, but I'm glad I know about it now. So there are some different things we can do for ourselves to create personal emotional closure within ourselves. We can give ourselves, first of all, I think it's important to give ourselves the opportunity to feel our feelings. We don't want to move past this too quickly. You don't want to do like a spiritual bypass or put a Band-Aid on something or pour pink paint over it without authentically feeling your feelings. You know, I think so often unexpressed grief or unshed tears can be the root of so many problems, including addiction, including health challenges, including holding on to extra weight. So to be able to give ourselves the opportunity to feel our feelings, whatever they are, even if they're not pretty, even if they are ugly and painful and confusing, to allow yourself to go through that process, I think is so important. You just don't want to stay there indefinitely. You don't want to brew and stew in that and stay in that place of, the well of grief indefinitely. So give yourself permission to feel your feelings. Then what I like to do is create a ritual or a ceremony. It can be like creating an altar for yourself, or, you know, you can journal. You can light a candle and have a conversation with whoever or whatever you are hurting about. This might sound silly. I did this with my Hummer. I got rid of my Hummer and I was very sad, but I'm moving on to a new chapter of my life because, well, I have horses and so I need a truck. But the death of my old self and, you know, my younger self, my teenage self, my fun self, it was important to talk to my inner child about why we had to let go of the Hummer, and it ended up being my teenager. And I think having that conversation with her made the transition less painful. And it can sound silly, but it's also really, really helpful. So there's nothing that is too large or too small to create closure around if it brings up kind of emotion for you, like a sadness or confusion. It's important to be able to take care of our inner reality. Yes, Tana, I'm going to get to this, the letter and the God box. This has been one of the most important ways that I've found, most helpful ways that I've found to create closure and a really powerful ceremony form within ourselves. So what I like to do is, you know, this is a God box, and then I have, you know, I make journals and I have a candle. So I will light a candle, I will set an intention, and then I will write a letter to whomever it is that I'm having the challenge with or having the hurt around. And I'll write a letter to them. And initially, the first part of the letter might include my regrets, my hurt, my sadness, and then perhaps my apologies. But then I don't think it's good to end there. I think if we're going to write letters, we need to end on a note of appreciation and what our soul learned, the life lessons we've learned, because that's really why we're here on planet Earth, is to learn soul level life lessons. So to be able to finish on a note where you are talking about what you're grateful for, what you've learned, how you're a better person because of the experience of this person in your life. I read a study, and it talked about how they worked with a bunch of people, and they found after doing the letter writing for 4 days, it really, really helped clear a lot of their hurt and heartbreak out. It's sort of like when the sky parts and the sun comes through, and then maybe the gray clouds start to disperse. So there is more sunshine and clarity and levity. And perhaps there's still going to be some sadness about the relationship, but it's not going to infect and affect your entire life. So to be able to write a letter to them for 4 days, again, can be extremely healing and extremely helpful. A couple of other things I like to include in the God box closure ceremony is perhaps a picture, maybe a picture of your friend or a picture of your loved one, you know, if somebody has died, or a picture of your animal that has transitioned, whatever it is that you're losing and trying to heal the hurt over. Include a picture of them and maybe a healing symbol such as rose petals or a crystal or something that reminds you of them, like a talisman of some sort, a feather, whatever comes to mind as a healing symbol. I also like to include a letter to my inner child and a letter to God. And I find Again, taking care of those two relationships, your relationship with the inner child and your relationship with that something greater, is what keeps me on solid ground. The two most important relationships we can cultivate and hone and take responsibility for. If we do that, it makes it so much easier to take care of our relationships with other people and situations and get back to that place of wholeness and clarity. So again, I like to journal. I like to light a candle. I like to set my intentions, and then I write the letters, put them in the God box, include the pictures or talismans, and just I imagine handing the God box to God and then relaxing and breathing, letting go of any kind of angst or hurt or heartbreak, putting it in the God box, even if it's just temporary, and then giving it to God and relaxing. And imagine filling these newly opened places with a sense of light or the color of healing. For me, it often comes in as sparkly healing light. And I just imagine opening myself to receiving the healing grace that is available to us all the time. Every minute of every day, every second of every minute, it is available to us. But are we making ourselves available to receive it? So that is such a big piece of the healing puzzle for me. And I know when we are hurting, when we are in heartbreak, when we're in anguish or crying those tears of compassion, there are angels of compassion that are surrounding us and holding us. God knows how much it hurts to hurt. And I do believe there are angels assigned to us for the very reason of healing and clearing and compassion. And we need to make ourselves available for those connections and those relationships if it's something that we want for ourselves. And I think we can all benefit from that. So yes, Tonda, praying daily for the person that you're feeling pain around, especially when we feel like we've been wronged, has helped your heart heal. I love that so much. And just reading that, I feel my heart being lifted. And I've talked also about the Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I've expanded on all those phrases and sentences when I've written the letters. What am I sorry for? What would I like to ask forgiveness for? What am I grateful for? And to talk about how much I love them and what I've learned from them. So these are all really helpful little bits of wisdom that have supported me in clearing the hurt and heartbreak that I've carried because of relationships and situations in my life, letting go of the dreams I've had that a relationship could have been something different, that a friendship that I thought was a lifetime was just a season. Letting go of, and this is a hard one, especially I think for females, letting go of the maidenhood and moving more into the wise woman, to let go of that younger maiden aspect, and to let that season be what it was, but to move on to the next season. And I do think that is so empowering, because I really think no matter what's happening in our lives, it is for our highest good. But so often we're in resistance. So often we're in denial. So often we're trying to ignore or not hurt, that we're not making the most of the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us. We didn't come to planet Earth to not feel pain. I think on the other side of the veil, things are pretty graceful, easy, blissful. We didn't come here to not feel. We're emotional beings, and to avoid or deny or pretend or sweep our feelings under the carpet, it's not the healthiest way of being, and it's not the most powerful way to experience this human reality. So a gentle way to embrace getting older. Don't you think that that's important? And I also have looked for role models in regards to transitioning into this next chapter of my life. And I think it's helpful to do this, to look for role models. I love Oprah Winfrey. I love Christy Brinkley. I love Maya Angelou, and how they all exemplify grace and wisdom and moving into a chapter of our lives that is beyond the maiden and the youthful girl. So again, letting go and grieving and saying goodbye and creating closure can look a lot of different ways. And to be able to take responsibility for this within ourselves can just put us back into that place of alignment and openness and connection to love. Because again, only the love is real, and all relationships are eternal. But it can be confusing here. You know, I've had this sense that sometimes, you know, when we transition, we meet the people that have hurt us so much. And they're like, I played the part well, didn't I, in your reality? And it's nice if we can know that on this side of the veil, so we're not carrying so much emotion, painful emotion around these relationships that didn't go the distance. Because in truth, they are. They are. The love is real and will ripple out for eternity, be it with our animals, be it with our youth, be it with other people, romantic or friendships. So again, I'm just going to go through these few steps that we can take responsibility for and do by ourselves if there's some things looming over you in your life that don't feel complete. So again, give yourself permission to feel your feelings. If you need to cry your tears, if you're angry, find a way to move that out of your body in a healthy way. I often use art. I've often used a plastic bat and beat up pillows to move the energy out of me. And I know sometimes people resist this because they don't think it's going to make it better, or they don't think it's going to end, but it does. The tears and the anger eventually comes to a place of softening and peace. But if we keep it tamped down in our reality, then it's just going to pull our strings from behind the scenes and kind of, again, affect and infect our outer lives, our inner lives and our outer lives. So give yourself permission to feel your feelings and move them out of your body in whatever way that resonates for you. Then create a ritual or a ceremony, maybe light a candle, journal, have a conversation with that other person, do a gestalt, write a letter that you mail or don't mail, or that you put in the God box. It can also be helpful to consider and commit to a new interest in your life. What brings you joy? What brings you to life? What makes you feel really aligned? What does your inner child want to do? What can you do for the heck of it, the happiness of it? Consider that. And again, it's important to know that all closure has to occur within yourself. And then seek the help you need. Perhaps there are some friends that you can talk to. Perhaps there are, as a support group, you can reach out to, because we're all in this together, whether it feels like it or not. There's a few people in my circle that have lost friends recently, and they've all said they feel so alone. So my intention is to bring them together and have conversations for the sake of support and sweetness and love and conversation. And so I think that's one of the most important things we can do, is to connect with other people of like mind. Take responsibility for your inner work. And then I think as we do that, we raise in our vibration, and then it's easier to connect with people of like vibration. But if we don't release our hurt and heartbreak, it can keep us kind of moving up and down rather than freeing us to go to the higher level, where we can create the space for the relationships that the divine has for us and attract the opportunities for the prosperity and the joy that is ours by divine right. We don't want to keep our foot on the brakes and the accelerator at the same time. We want to take our foot off the brakes. We want to clear our hurts. We want to open up the space so that we can relax and move forward into the next chapters of our life with a lot more joy, clarity, peace, and ease. So if you would like, be in touch with me, and I can send you a list, this list that I've talked about, for you to be able to do for yourself. If there are areas in your life that you would like to create closure for yourself, a personal ceremony, closure and completion form within yourself. If you would like that, please just be in touch with me here, either on the thread or private message me, or write to me at tammybphd@gmail.com, and I'll give you this list for creating closure form within yourself. And I sense it will provide you with some relief as it has me. So just know that I appreciate you being part of the energy here. And I would also really love to invite you to share with me what you have done to create that sense of peace or closure or completion form within yourself. Do you have some advice? Maybe I'll end up adding that to the list, because I think we can all learn with each other in this sense of community and healing and ascending and living a life that is authentically empowered. So I would love to hear from you. Any suggestions, any thoughts about how we can clear and come into a place of alignment and wholeness, and just navigate this human journey with, again, more grace and ease and peace and clarity. So I appreciate you so much for being part of the energy today, and I would love to hear from you. And again, if I can support you in any way, please be in touch and let me know, because that is my passion, purpose, and greatest joy. So God bless you. Take good care of yourself, and just let me know how you're feeling and doing, and if there's any way I can support you. Let me know if you participate in this process and how it makes you feel. And again, I invite any of your suggestions as well. So know that you are in my heart, my meditation, my prayers. Okay, Rick, I will send you this. You bring up a very good point. If it feels like you're slogging through some things, if you feel like you're in slow motion, perhaps there's an opportunity to clear some things that have been weighing you down. And I think so many people have a lot of hurt and heartbreak in their backpack in life, and they're not necessarily aware of it. And this is a way to become more aware of it and start to take responsibility to clear the backpack of the things that maybe we don't have closure around, the hurt and the heartbreak that we didn't bring to completion. It can lighten the load so that we can travel again with more light and grace and ease. So I will definitely send this to you, Rick, and I love you as well. Thank you, Penny. I look forward to going deeper in this conversation with you. I'm going to do a radio show with Penny in a couple of weeks about ceremonies around completion and closure. So that'll be a fun chat to have. And I love you, Tonda. It's always so fun to see you here. So thank you, Kathy and Jamie and Byron and Brent Carey and John and Eileen. I love you, Eileen. And let's connect again through either the thread here, private message, email, and let's continue the journey together. God bless you. You're my heart, my prayers. If there's anything I can do to support you, please let me know. I love you. You are incredibly, wonderfully, and perfectly made. You are so adored. I hope you can open your mind and heart, body and soul to receive these truths. And the more you do, I think the more comfort you'll feel, the more healing that will happen, and the more peace you'll experience. So God bless you. Take good, gentle care of yourself. And I look forward to connecting with you again very soon. Onward and upward. Bye for now.